Hey, in Luke 1, in the Christmas story, Mary asks a brilliant question. You see, the angel shows up and says, "Greetings, favored one," and then he goes on to tell her that she will be with child and will give birth to the Messiah. And then Mary says, "How will this be, since I am a virgin?" Which is an excellent question, which honestly reveals something about Mary's own self-knowledge. Mary understands that aside from this moment in her life where an angel has just appeared, she is an ordinary young girl. She is simply someone that is living her story until God interrupted it. How will this be since I am a virgin? Essentially, there are so many different views about who Mary is. But Mary's own self-knowledge shows that she viewed herself as just an average person. And in fact, if a miracle was going to happen in her life, she's going to need some explanations of how that's going to happen because she knew that she couldn't perform this miracle on her own. But of course, the angel goes on and he says, well, this is how it's going to happen. God is going to overshadow you and you will give birth to the Messiah. And I love what Mary's response is. She doesn't argue with God that God's incapable of that miracle. She doesn't argue about how she's too lowly of a person. Rather, she skips past all that you and I might really honestly say. And she simply says this, "I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled, just as you said." I love that. She simply says, "I am the Lord's servant." She says, I have woken up today to do whatever it is that God has called me to do. Whatever the Lord wants for my life, whatever the Lord has assigned to this day, that is what I choose to receive. So she begins by explaining that she's really not this remarkable person, but she ends with something that is so remarkable in the human story. And that is just a willingness, a yieldedness to God to simply have him do in her life that which he wishes to do. Mary simply wanted to play whatever part in God's story God had assigned to her. And I don't know, I believe that God knows all things. So I believe that he saw her response in advance and knew that Mary would be someone who would just raise her hand and say, "I am the Lord's servant. Do it to me as you have said." So I think that's a great question for us as we begin this Christmas morning. In this season of Advent, as we're preparing our hearts for the Lord, you probably woke up with a to-do list of a lot of things that you want to get done in this Christmas season. And maybe not even things that you want to get done, but simply things that you have to get done. Are you showing up willing to be interrupted by God and simply say, "I want to raise my hand. If there's something that you've assigned me to do in your story, today I want to do it"? Are we like Mary, yielded? If so, then I encourage you sometime today to make sure that you are listening to God. Take a beat of silence before you go into that store. Take a beat of silence before you walk out and engage with your family. Take a beat of silence before you open your to-do list and simply raise your hand up to God and say, "Lord, I am your servant. Whatever it is that you want me to do, I want to play that part in your story." If that's you and you want to be inspired by Mary, then I just encourage you to make that a significant moment in your day. Because if you can have that type of story, you can be as significant as Mary in the Christmas story. I hope you start this day with the self-knowledge that Mary had. I am no one special outside of God seeing me and having favor on my life and selecting me to be a part of his story. But I also hope that you have a moment like Mary, where you raise your hand and say, "I will be remarkable in the human story," simply by saying yes and volunteering to do that whichever God assigns me to do today. I hope that's encouraging for you.